What up, everybody? You're now tuned into Jaguars Daily. I'm your host, Brandon Lampley, back today with another video. We're gonna get this football fix in, and yeah, the cycle of free agency and leading up to the draft hasn't been all that exciting as far as news and rumors. But every now and then we've been getting a little gem here and there, just a little gem here and there, and we got one yesterday. But before we get into that gem, congratulations to the Jaguars equipment staff. They got AFC equipment staff of the year. Yeah, followed by a new era for their work during the 2025 season. So, man, shout out to them. They got NFL Performance Team of the Year as well. It speaks to what they're building. It speaks to the leadership at the top, the expectation, and the people that they put in place. Man, this something special is brewing in Duval. Something special is brewing. But we're going to get into that gym I talked about. Let's get into that gym. And that gym, when Schefter dropped the developing story, anytime you see a player in developing story under his chest, you're like, oh, so what's happening? Dexter Lawrence, the defensive tackle for the Giants, the All Pro, requested a trade, and they've been. This is not a surprise. I think Jaguars were on the phone and talks with them last year at the trade deadline about him to see what the compensation is, what's going on. Eventually, nothing ever happened, of course, and he stayed with the Giants. Now he has officially requested a trade, and he wants out. Say they've been negotiating a contract over the last 2 years or so and trying to get an extension done, and the two sides are just, I guess, too far apart. And he wants out. He wants to move on. And I was like, I think Jag should at least be on the phone. Like any other situation, you do your due diligence. You figure out, what's the compensation, what do they want at the very least. Because from what I've seen already, the packages that I've seen is yeah, for a nose tackle, who you're going to have to pay. Let's remember this. Let's remember this. You're going to have to pay him. He was looking for an extension, so a trade and an extension is what you're looking at. So you're looking at give up assets and give up bank. This is what you're going to have to do. Though, so for the packages I've seen for him already, it was like, yeah, they want something lofty for a Dexter Lawrence, and I get it, He's all pro defensive tackle. You could argue that he is the best interior lineman in the league. I mean, it's just what it is. So, as far as him, uh, Jacksonville, you kind of got their hand tied behind their back. I don't think you would want to trade away your first from last year, not last year, for next year, knowing that you don't have a first this year and trading away the one for next year. Don't know, don't know, don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me if they're considering it. Just looking at the Rams and what they did, and how they pretty much just traded stuff away, just like, yeah, don't need it. Don't need it. Don't need it. Yeah, give me that. Give me Jalen Ramsey. Give me this guy. Give me that guy. And that's how they did it. And you see what they built. The ends justify the means. So if they're in consideration for it, I get it. I get it. I get it. But some of the packages that I saw so far with is Eric Armstead, our 56 pick, one of the thirds, and then some picks next year, one or two picks next year or something like that. And I was like, don't know about that one, because Sexy Dexy is a nose tackle, and I don't see him playing next to Davon Hamilton all that much. I mean, I've seen two nose tackles play next to each other, but in this front that Jacksonville has, I don't think so. At least, at least from what I've known about football, like, those two are not going to. You don't pair those two together. So it begs the question of Devon Hamilton. So, but we're going to get into that next. But Dexter Lawrence, would you do it? Could you do it? I mean, what is your opinion on it? What do you think, man? Because some of you guys still, I've seen some of the comments still talk about Max Crosby a few videos back. Still thinking that that's a possibility, or it's a desire, something that you guys wanted. So for those people who looking for them to make a move on the defensive line, whether it's Crosby, Lawrence, or whatever, what are your opinions on Dexter Lawrence and Jacksonville bringing him here? Um, what is the plan? What is the plan? Because we're talking about a blue chip player. If you're going to trade away assets and move forward, Dexter Lawrence is the type of player that you do that for. If you're going to do this, if you're going to give away assets, and you're doing it for a top shelf talent, that's just what it is. Especially a lot of assets like they're going to have to give up for Dexter Lawrence. You do it for a top shelf talent, and that's what he is. And yeah, they have their ways of doing whatever they need to do to move cap around to be able to sign him. I think they can still, like right now with the cap space that they have, they could trade for him. Say they move Eric Armstead out, you clear that money, and you can sign Dexter Lawrence, and you'll still have a little something left, just for moving out Eric Armstead, bringing him in, signing him. That doesn't that and that you also have other contracts that you can rework and redo to even get more cap space after you sign Dexter Lawrence. So it is doable. It is doable. It is feasible, as they say. It is feasible. So it's just a matter of how do the Jaguars value him? Um, how do they feel about him? So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, and this is interesting because they had already been on the phone with them last year talking about it. So we'll see if they can get a deal done. I mean, we kind of knew that this was the market they were going to be in because free agency was after the first couple of guys were off the board at certain positions, it became a meh fest. So, but this right here, this is right up their alley, supposedly. So, we'll see. But that leads us into my guy, my guy. What does this mean for my guy, Davon Hamilton? What does this mean for him? Because he plays the same position, and his contract is up at the end of this year. And that's why I got the few other guys I have. All of these guys are up for an extension, and it's you got to ask the question of who's most likely to get said extension. If the Dexter Lawrence trade goes through, I don't see that. I don't see that from them re-signing Davon Hamilton. It's just why are we signing two nose tackles? Because Davon is not going to come cheap. He played excellent last year, so you're going to have to pay him too. You may not going to pay him Dexter Lawrence money because Dexter Lawrence is an elite pass rusher and elite run stuffer. So he does both very well. Davon Hamilton is not much of a pass rusher. At least that's not what they asked him to do. Don't know how well he can do it if he focused on that. Don't know, but I know right now he's not a pass rush guy for Jacksonville. But Dexter Lawrence is that. He had 9 sacks 2 years ago. He only had a half sack last year, but it was kind of marred with the contract negotiations, whatever issues he had with the front office. I think he had an elbow injury or some other stuff. So, it's what it is. But, going forward, I expect him to be exactly what he is, which is a elite pass rusher and elite run stuffer. So where does that leave Davon Hamilton? I think that leaves him on the outside looking in if they make this move. Yeah, because you're not going to pay two nose tackles, this type of money. Like the money that Dexter Lawrence is going to get, and then the money you will have to give Davon Hamilton is not. So Davon Hamilton would be on his way out, in my opinion, if you move on, if you make the trade for Dexter Lawrence. The only one I can see staying is a Eric Armstead because his position is different. But people already he was the first one I saw in the trade mocks or whatever to trade for Dexter Lawrence. First one. I'm like, man, y'all still on the Eric Armstead train. And it didn't help, that it's saying that he may be a post June 1 cut and they still may move on from him because they said that they most likely will not restructure his salary and push it into into future years. They just want to get it off the books now. And so that could be the case. Who knows? Who knows? But as far as Davon, he may be out of here, man. If they make this move for Dexter Lawrence, I think he's definitely out of here. He's gone. And they'll still be looking for a three technique. They'll probably try to lock one down in the draft. Um, and they're still the secondary free agent market. So, we don't know who they value and who they like, because there's still a few veterans there that can come in at that spot and give you some interior pass rush. Calais Campbell does come to mind, even though he is 55 years old. He gets around good for an old man. So, but it's something worth monitoring and looking into, and keeping up with the situation, because a move like this affects the defensive line as a whole, because you bring Dexter Lawrence in as a centerpiece for that interior pass rush, and it immediately helps Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, Gardeck, Strigal, Green, the edge rushers. This helps them tremendously, because now we can get pushed up the middle and the quarterback is not stepping up into a nice comfy pocket. So, but that is that. And we're moving and we're grooving here on Jaguars Daily. Oh, I didn't ask. How's everybody doing? How's your mama? How's the kids? How's life treating you? Yes, 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 yes. So we get into Ezra Cleveland. So Ezra Cleveland, his contract is up this year, and will they extend him? Because from his play last year, and I expect him to play like that. He probably even better this year. Extending him, you're gonna have to put some change down, man. This won't be a small extension. No, he's played well enough to where, if let's say he has another season like he had last year, and then he hits the open market, they don't sign him, and he hits free agency, he's gonna get a bag in free agency, man. He is. He is. I mean, offensive linemen, period, are man, they're in short supply. They are. They are competent, at least good offensive linemen are in short supply, man. There are more, and I came to this realization probably about 2 years ago, that there are more quality defensive linemen in the NFL than it is offensive linemen. No question. It's not even a debate at this point, because I had inklings about it, and I'm like, man, it's a lot of great defensive linemen, but the great offensive linemen, man, it's only a few. It's only a few. And you looked at some even good teams, and looked at how bad their offensive lines were. And even if it was just from injury, they lost their frontline guys, and they had backup guys in. Still, the drop off is tremendous. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, so you had plenty of even good teams, bad teams. You expect it from bad teams, but you had good teams. Look at the Chiefs' offensive line. Look how long it took them to move and shuffle things around, and how bad it has been for, say, a Patrick Mahomes. Look how bad the Chargers line was. Even with injury, the drop off after the injury is crazy. You look at those things, but there's no question there's more quality defensive linemen than there is quality offensive linemen. And with that being said, that's one of the reasons why Walker Little is still here. Tackles don't grow on trees. It's what it is. Ezra Cleveland, it's the same thing. I expect, if he has another season like that, I expect them to re-sign him, unless they feel like they've replaced him through the draft. That's the only way. That's the only way. That right there is the only way. And for right now, will one of those young guys step up and replace Ezra Cleveland? Right now, I don't think so. I think if they're going to replace anybody, the candidate is Patrick McCarry, because Ezra's the better player. I expect Ezra to get an extension at the end of this year, or whenever, whether it's during the season or after the season, or even if they let him go into free agency and try to bring him back, which if they value him, I don't see why they would do that. But it happens. They go let him go out there, see what's out there, and then they see what their value is, and then they sign them to whatever deal. So and I always say that if the guys can't find somebody offering, if they don't sign elsewhere for more money, it's because whatever they were looking for, Jaguars was like, yo, or the team was like, yo, go see if you can go find more than what we offering. They weren't offering more, so you got to come back. You got to sign this because it's the best offer you're going to get. I don't think that'll be the case with Ezra Cleveland. I just don't, because of offense, because of his position. Even though he's not a tackle, still, just quality offensive linemen, man. They're in short supply. Just remember that. Always remember that. You just pay attention to it this upcoming season. Just pay attention. Focus more on the lines. As you're watching football, focus more on the lines, at least for part of the game, by each team, the offensive and defensive lines for each team, and just look at around the league and look at them. And I'm telling you, man, the difference is astounding. It is. It's astounding. So, yeah, that's it. I'm going to leave that right there. And, yes, I think Ezra's getting that extension. No question. No question about it. Last guy on the list, last but definitely not least, Ventrell Miller. Ventrell Miller will ball out this year. Yes. I am confident in that. Yes, I think he's been chomping at the bit. The man is hungry, and and he's in a contract year. So, will he get an extension at the end of this year? Now, he's one that I know for certain that they probably not going to extend him until after the season is over, or maybe right before the start of free agency. He's definitely a candidate for that. Ezra Cleveland is too. You just don't know. They may extend Cleveland sooner than that. But after your first wave of guys, which Trayvon Walker just signed, Parker Washington is soon to follow. Brenton Strange is soon to follow. I would think Antonio Johnson is in that bunch as well. So those guys are ones that they're trying to get done right now. So Ezra Cleveland and Ventrell Miller are probably on the back burner, and you won't see them signed until before free agency next year. But who knows? Depending on how it goes and how quickly they get these guys signed, I think they're next in line, to be considered for extension. Because outside of these guys, Davon Hamilton, Ezra Cleveland, and Ventrell Miller, there isn't any significant guys coming up who's going to contracts ends at the end of this year. So this is it. This is the Parker Washington, Brenton Strange, Antonio Johnson, Davon Hamilton, Ezra Cleveland, Ventrell Miller. Those are your guys who are most likely going to get extensions going forward because their contracts are up at the end of the year. So, but Ventrell, yeah, absolutely. Because I think he's going to play well. I mean, he's a walking 10 tackles a game. That's who he is, and I think he's going to play well. Only difference between him and Lloyd is his ability to create turnovers, in which we're going to find out, aren't we? So I think Ventrell Miller will play well, and they most likely will extend him. Now, there's a chance that they may not, just like with Ezra Cleveland. They have young offensive linemen that they've drafted. They're going to draft more offensive linemen. Same with linebackers. There are young linebackers on this roster that they drafted, and they're going to draft more linebackers. They should draft another one. So with that drafting coming up, there's a chance that Ventrell Miller and Ezra Cleveland is out the door. So that that is a possibility. So, but if I had to take a guess, I would say Cleveland gets signed, Miller may walk. Yeah, just the nature of their positions. Yes, yeah, because there's less quality offensive linemen. So I think that's the direction they would go, is go offensive lineman versus linebacker, with Ventrell Miller, because they let Lloyd walk, and they had an offer out there for Lloyd. They could have upped it. They let him walk. Ventrell Miller, I would assume that You know, it's not him, it's not them personally, it's their position. You know, so I would expect Cleveland to get signed and Ventrell to walk. If anything, Davon Hamilton maybe, but now with the Dexter Lawrence trade, you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for today. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to all the new subscribers. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on all of my social media. Holla at your boy. And I'm going to get in those comments soon, man. I see you guys been commenting, man. Can't wait to chop it up with you. We will be back with more videos. Until next time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.